As the Ice Age pressed relentlessly onward, humans began to move with purpose. Survival demanded it, not merely wandering, but venturing into unknown lands in search of food, shelter, and safer climates. Rivers, mountains, and valleys became paths of both opportunity and danger. Each step into the unknown was a test, a gamble with life itself. These migrations brought new challenges. The land could be barren or teeming with predators more cunning than any they had faced before. Harsh winds cut through clothing and hides, rivers surged with unexpected force, and unfamiliar terrain concealed hidden threats. Yet with each journey, humans grew stronger, more observant, and more adaptable. They learned to read the signs of nature, tracks in snow, patterns of vegetation, the distant calls of animals, and to move with caution and intent. Groups experimented with the land, discovering resources that could be used in ways never before imagined. Stones could be shaped into finer tools, bones carved into needles, and fire harnessed for warmth, cooking, and protection. Simple strategies for trapping or driving game evolved into coordinated hunts, revealing the first inklings of planning and foresight. Survival had become as much a product of the mind as of muscle. Social bonds grew ever more important. Leaders emerged not by might alone, but through wisdom and experience. Decisions were made collectively, guided by knowledge passed from elders to the young. Children learned early the lessons of patience, observation, and courage. Around the fire, stories of hunts, journeys, and lost kin were shared, primitive narratives that shaped memory and identity. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans began to leave traces of themselves on the landscape. Stones were stacked as markers, bones arranged in patterns, and caves painted with crude images of animals and hunts. These marks hinted at reflection, imagination, and the first expressions of culture. Humanity was not merely surviving, it was beginning to understand its place in the world, to interact with it thoughtfully, and to leave a record of existence for those who would come after. Through migration, innovation, and cooperation, humans were learning that the world could be shaped as much as endured. Every dawn in unknown lands was a test, every night a lesson in vigilance. Yet with every challenge faced and every danger overcome, they edged closer to mastery over themselves and the environment. In the frozen, shadowed expanses of the Ice Age, humanity was no longer just surviving, it was awakening.
As humans learned to hunt together, their lives began to change in subtle but profound ways. Small bands moved with careful coordination, stalking prey across frozen plains or herding animals into simple traps. No longer was survival a matter of brute strength alone. Strategy, patience, and cooperation became their most powerful tools. Every successful hunt strengthened not only their bodies, but the bonds within the group, teaching them that unity could turn fear into opportunity. Around the fire, humans began to mark their existence. Scratches on stone walls, arrangements of bones, and the careful placement of stones around shelters hinted at awareness beyond mere survival. Some gestures seemed to honor those who had fallen. Others perhaps celebrated the hunt. These were the earliest inklings of ritual, the first whispers of culture. Life, they realized, had significance beyond the immediate struggle. It was something to be remembered, shared, and protected. Predators and the elements remained relentless. Wolves prowled at the edges of camp. Storms could bury supplies under snow, and starvation lurked in even the slightest miscalculation. Yet every danger carried a lesson. Humans observed, adapted, and learned. They discovered that intelligence, memory, and foresight could tip the balance in their favor, and that together they could shape outcomes rather than simply react to them. Through these small victories and careful observations, humans began to evolve not only physically, but socially and mentally. They shared tasks without words. Some gathered food, others kept watch, while others crafted simple tools from stone and bone. They experimented with fire, not just for warmth, but for cooking, protection, and signaling. Knowledge accumulated slowly, passed from one generation to the next, creating the first fragile threads of continuity, the earliest form of human legacy. In the vast frozen wilderness of the Ice Age, humanity was no longer just surviving. Step by step, dawn by dawn, humans were learning to endure, to innovate, and to care for one another. They were becoming more than prey. They were becoming resilient, aware, and profoundly human. And though the world remained merciless, their story of adaptation, unity, and courage had only just begun.
The subtle shift in the clouds that hinted at change. Every movement of nature was a message, every sound a signal. To ignore these signs was to court death. They discovered the first sparks of ingenuity. Rocks were no longer just obstacles or weapons, they became tools with purpose. Sharpened stones could split wood, carve bone, or pierce the hide of prey. Bundles of sticks could form traps. Animal hides, once merely a shield against the cold, became garments, tents, and blankets. Each invention was small, fragile, and imperfect, but it represented something profound: control over their own destiny. Life within the group became more than survival. It became social. Humans learned to watch over one another. A fallen child could be lifted from the snow. An injured hunter could be tended. Bonds formed in shared struggle, and with them came the earliest understanding of community. The group became a single organism, moving, thinking, and reacting as one. In this unity lay their strength, the first real edge against the deadly world around them. And yet, the world remained merciless. Predators lurked at the edges of vision, ready to strike. Harsh storms could bury entire camps in ice and snow. Starvation still claimed those who were unlucky or slow. Death was never far, and every survival was a fleeting victory. But with each sunrise endured, with each night survived, they learned resilience. They learned that life, however fragile, was worth defending. As the seasons turned and generations passed,